Hello, everyone, and welcome to Zest with me, Shel Marie, the podcast that will take you on a journey from the hustle to the harmony, fueling your passion whilst finding your peace. Today, it's an absolute honor to welcome Monica Kalra, an executive and personal leadership coach, speaker, and multi-award winning author. She is a woman who supports high-achieving professionals in returning to themselves, back to their confidence, clarity, spark, and inner truth. She works with incredible women who have created outward success, yet still feel something missing on the inside. Through her blend of psychological depth and practical strategy, she helps them dissolve invisible barriers, rebuild self-trust, and step into the success that feels meaningful, sustainable, and soul-aligned. In this episode, we'll explore the internal roadblocks that hold us back, the courage required for true self-leadership, and the profound transformation that happens when we reconnect to who we truly are. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much, Shel, for having me. It's such an honor to be here. Thank you.
You're so welcome. And I know that, a big thing that your focus is on is, of course, you have these incredibly powerful women that come to you. And externally, everything looks fabulous on the outside. But I know that a big thing that you help them with is the internal. So I'd just love you to just give me a little bit of background of what inspired you to focus on this particular aspect? Did someone come to you, or was it something that you had to work on? Whatever you want to share.
So, Shel, basically, I was working in the coaching industry as a certified relationship coach. I was helping people improve their relationships. And I was also working in the capacity of a divorce coach. And when I was working in these spheres for a couple of years, there was a pattern that was emerging constantly for me with the clients that I worked with. And what I noticed was that most of these women that were working with me, lovely women, most of them I found that they were either over-functioning, they were overthinking, or there was this emotional disconnection that I felt. And that was the time when I realized that my work wasn't about improving relationships or just in the space of relationships. It was going beyond it, because my deeper work was ensuring that these women were able to be, were able to lead from the inside out. So it was about the leadership of the self, so that they could connect with their own inner authority, which was missing. And I felt there was so much misalignment there. And that's how I stepped into this role and took this on, because I really wish to help women who are really successful, but there's something missing inside.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm sure most of us listening can relate. And even when we are very conscious of this and doing the inner work, there's still always something we can be working on. So I think it's really powerful what you're doing. And I'm sure no wonder you're a multi-award winning author, because I'm sure that feeds into your books and all that you create. And it's super important, because it goes back to that we can have it all, but if there's something that there's just that feeling, it doesn't matter where we are, it doesn't matter who we're with, what we're experiencing, there's still going to be that void, just that almost lost feeling inside. So I think it's super important, and also not to judge someone's success on the external of how it looks, which is often what we get caught up a lot in social media. So would you say that that's a factor that comes up often, where maybe women are comparing themselves a lot?
They're not just comparing themselves. What is happening is that they are stuck. And when I say stuck, I don't mean literally,
Yeah.
so this stuckness is not about stillness, or it's not about being frozen as such.
Mm,
uh, this stuckness comes from motion. So they are
mm,
constantly in motion. They're producing, they're achieving, they are working constantly. However, this motion is without a meaning. They're not aligned with their purpose.
mm.
So, um, and this is not laziness, if they're in that motion, it's not about
No.
laziness. It's about being misaligned. It's because their nervous system has gone in a protection mode, and
Mm,
they are emotionally paused.
yeah.
um, and also, the other thing that I would like to mention is that this stuckness is a feedback to them. It's not a failure.
Mm,
It's just that it's their body trying to tell them that something is not fitting in well with them. So their outer world and their inner world are not the same.
yeah.
I think there's a there was a report by Deloitte, I think in 2023, which emphasized that half of the professional working women, they
Mm,
are disconnected from their purpose, even
mm,
even if they are successful. So the work is gaining that momentum, and that momentum is, you can't gain it by pushing harder, but you can gain it by really slowing down enough so
yeah.
that you can listen to what is really true for you, because we are always on that drive, you're achieving
Yeah.
one thing after the other. And this can be done through reflection, through emotional regulation, or through some small aligned actions, so that we can rediscover our true meaning.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And obviously, I know we have confidentiality with clients and things, but just as a general, just to give people like an idea and a background, um, do you have like a transformational story where someone found that, well, someone or anyone found that real clarity and confidence?
Apparently, there was this woman just yesterday that I was coaching,
Wow.
and she's really successful. And she was shocked when I explained the same thing to her. And I said, "You are stuck in motion." And she goes, "What do you
Mm,
mean?" I said, "You're achieving, you're doing everything right. You're on the go, go, go. And for you, stillness feels like being in danger.
mm,
Like Dr. Gabor Mate, he says, this is a disease of being busy.
yeah.
And that's what all the women these days are caught into, because they want to prove, they want to achieve, they want to
Mm,
make sure that, they're going to the next level. But deep inside, they're feeling hollow. They're feeling
yeah.
as though they've lost their spark.
I think something really profound that you mentioned earlier as well is the word lazy. And people associating stillness with laziness. And I think you addressed that so beautifully. And yeah, like when you even hear the explanation and the go, 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 you can feel it in your words. And yeah, and it's not at any fault to anyone, but when you're in that, that's why it's so important to sometimes have a coach, have a mentor that can actually zoom out and help you see your blind spots a little bit. Because even in that, maybe reading that magazine or doing something else, you don't know, they're still maybe mentally or watching that program or doing something. There's so much still that we think we're relaxing, but mentally we're still being stimulated. Um, and yeah, myself included, and I don't know about yourself, but there was a time where, yeah, sitting and literally doing nothing, I felt so void. Like, come on, Shelley, what are you going to do next? Let's do something. But now I realize that pause, that sacred time, that even just having like no lyrics, just something playing in the background, is a really sacred time for me. And I can breathe. But I feel like it's a journey, so I can see 100% how you really, really are changing women's lives, because I feel like I learned a lot the hard way. And
What
we
we-
don't have to do it that way, you know? This is why it's so important that we have these incredible conversations and connections, and we keep up leveling. And I know we're just talking about stillness, but even watching, say, like a podcast like this, someone could get so much insight already and just be like, oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. And it's okay to feel uncomfortable at first. Sit with the uncomfortableness. But yeah, it was a game changer in my life.
Shelly, this is how I explain it. This, it's like we're sitting in a car where
Mm,
one of our feet is on the accelerator, but the other one is on the brakes.
mm,
The mind is constantly in the driving mode, you know, whereas the body is in a freeze state. It
yeah.
can't catch up with with that moment, because that movement is so fast that the
Mm,
body goes into the freeze state. It goes into the protection mode and it can't catch up. And that's why this stillness is important, so
yeah.
that we can breathe, we can ground ourselves, through meditation, through going for walks, or just listening to that music that you mentioned. And
Yeah.
we all learn it the hard way, because
Yeah.
we are all trained um, to be, to gain that validation from external factors
Mm.
rather than tap into our own resources.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I think even that mindful, we think we're mindlessly scrolling, but we're taking in so much information all the time. And then, before we know, know about the new handbag someone got, or this, or this, or this. And we have so much again in our brains. So even though it might not be professional knowledge or, linked to work, we still then end up filling it up with something else that doesn't need to really be in there. So I think that's really important what you've mentioned, and what I love that you also highlighted, because I think sometimes when we hear stillness, we assume straight away it's got to be sitting quietly, and that's not for everybody. And like for me, even dancing, it could be lyrics, could not be lyrics, is actually a part of my meditative practice. Like I feel like I am somewhere else. I'm not distracted. I've not loaded my brain with more information. So I think it's important also to realize the word stillness doesn't mean literally stillness.
Shelley, you bring a very important point here about dancing, because what dancing does, it brings in movement in the body.
Mm,
And movement is essential in order to have that alignment of our mind, body, and soul.
yeah.
Because movement, because through that movement, through dancing, let's say, or through walking, what we are doing is we are, yes, coming into that state of stillness. And at the same time, we are getting in touch with our bodily cues.
Mm,
What has happened is that as we've grown older, we have lost connection with our bodies,
yeah.
with what we are feeling. We go right into our head, whereas our body picks up the cues much faster than the brain.
Mm,
But because we are not connected with our bodies, so we get into constant overthinking or over functioning. So, getting into our bodies to tap into our bodily cues and strengthening those helps us to get into those moments of stillness. But because when we are in those moments of stillness, it's only then can we come into the present moment.
yeah.
And presence is a powerhouse now, being
Mm,
present. Because as professionals, if we are not present, then we're performing. So
yeah.
presence is power, because presence, when we are present, it gives us, we are in a prefrontal cortex,
Yeah.
so we can make choices. Otherwise, we go into autopilot and then we can be reactive. So,
Absolutely.
so coming into that present moment is important. And movements like dancing, they bring you into that stillness.
Wow, Monica, thank you so much. And even as you explain that, like thinking back to like a younger version of me that was, more always like listening but not listening and, always 10 miles an hour. And you get that misalignment because you're already predicting the answer, thinking so far ahead, and the person's not even said that. And even that in itself, especially from a business perspective, is actually quite worrying because you can make so many assumptions. Whereas, in the present moment, which I've noticed now, which I found really difficult at first, because I always felt I didn't want the uncomfortableness of having no sound and not knowing what to say. But I realized the power in presence and really, truly not having something lined up to say and listening. Because when you listen, then you don't miss anything. And then you truly are like, oh, okay. And then you need that time sometimes to process it. Because, if we're assuming what someone's going to say, we're already jumping to the response when they never even said that. Which, is quite shaky territory, isn't it?
Certainly, Shelley. And when we are listening, it's about listening with our hearts,
Yeah.
And listening with our eyes, and truly listening to be there with them. And at the same time, listening to ourselves at that time. What's coming up for us when somebody is saying that? Because whatever is coming for us is where we need to heal. Because those are our cues. It's not just about the other person. It's the space in between, it's the dance in between, and it's also about our own presence. Presence of being with them and presence for ourselves as to what is this telling me about myself.
Oh, I absolutely love that, Monica. That's so beautiful. And even in you saying that so calmly, there's so much power in you saying it. I love it. And so something else I'm really intrigued by, and I'm sure it would really help the listeners, is I think we always assume like there'll be really clear, obvious signs like depression, like things like, but often there's lots of really subtle signs, isn't there? Lots of actually positive looking signs that are underlying, like for instance, even when you explained earlier of like the external success and someone being and then almost having that guilt of why can't I be happy, why am I ungrateful, like look what I have. Even that in itself is the inner dialogue that's kind of shaming you a little bit. So I'd just love to know, like, do you have any examples of like subtle signs that someone might be experiencing?
Generally, when you're talking about depression or when you're talking about even people committing suicide, they tend to, this is my observation, they tend to show things are really fine. There is this self-composure, where everything looks fine on the outside. Whereas inside, there is this epidemic of loneliness that people are experiencing. And it's very hard for them to ask for help. Because asking for that help is considered as though it's a weakness. And so people don't reach out and they pretend that everything is fine. Though authenticity has become a buzzword, but truly, not what is actually authenticity. It's not about oversharing. It's just the idea that who we are inside matches with our outside world.
All spectrums of emotions.
Yes, but during that time, we pretend that everything's fine. So we are either smiling too much, or we're cracking jokes, or we're pretending. But It is when pretense ends, that's the time when transformation begins.
Wow. Yes, that's really powerful. And I think it's not always, obviously, I know we were talking about a really sensitive subject, but I don't always think that people generally know that they're doing it because they've almost lost themselves as well. So it's a really odd time, which is why it's important to have these conversations and really have that time to sit with yourself, because often the way we think we are for many years, we realize, oh, that was just a learned behavior. That was a coping strategy. That was just something I was doing to mask. Like, I can say openly myself, I know I used humor a lot to hide a lot of pain that I had inside me. And I'm not saying now I'm not like funny, ha ha ha, but I don't now have to constantly be like, oh, I need to make a joke in this situation. I need to make people laugh because I don't want anyone to feel like sad like I used to feel. And I didn't know, I just thought that was my personality, but I didn't know that was actually something that was hiding something much deeper. So yeah, I think it's really, really powerful that you mentioned that.
And it's very important to feel that safety in self connection. Why we do that is because we're not feeling safe inside.
Yeah.
And so we're looking for, external validation. We're looking for approval from outside. We're performing, as you said, that you were, all of us have some coping strategies. And we try and we adopt them and we make them as our personality because we don't want people to disagree with us, because we want to belong. As human species, we always want to belong. And the one thing that we give up is our self-expression, is our authenticity. Because we have always been rewarded, especially women have always been rewarded for what is expected out of them, what is right, rather than what is real for them.
Oh, even in you saying that, because even something that that's come up a lot on this podcast is and just in general conversations is there's almost this positive this culture of I can't think what the word is, but positivity, and that if you cry too much, you show too much emotion, you get too sensitive, too emotional, that's a weakness. And I think straight away we assume it's more for men, but I think it's for women as well. And I think even that, like, we're not saying, obviously choose your timing and stuff, but we need to really value all of our emotions. And if someone can't accept us at our what would be perceived as our shadow or our downfall, then why should they only have exposure to the greatness of us all the time? And I know that we often are the ones that build that up to start with, because we don't want to show that side. We want to feel loved. We want to feel accepted. So yeah, I'd love your take on that.
Shelly, as I just mentioned, that, and I'll come back to your point, because as Dr. Gabor Mate always says, that humans have two basic needs as children. So first one is a sense of belonging, because we are the most helpless species. And the second one is authenticity or self-expression. And at a very early age, we give up, both boys and girls, we give up on our self-expression because we want to belong, because with no blame to the parents or our caregivers, they also didn't have any tools with them, and there wasn't much awareness about what we're talking at the moment. So they couldn't hold our emotions because they didn't know how to hold our emotions and also hold space for their own emotions. And as such, our emotions as children, for most of us, were not entertained or were not encouraged or were not supported. So we gave up on our authenticity, on our self-expression. And this is what then has led us to give up on safety in self-connection. So the moment someone disagrees with us, that's the one question I always ask my clients. And I said, can you stay connected to yourself even if people disagree with you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's powerful. Because
Because
that
as
is your
children,
authenticity, isn't it? It's not
yeah,
people
because as
pleasing.
children, yeah, because as children we couldn't. But now we carry those same patterns as adults.
Mm,
However, it's telling our system that I can rely on myself, and this is not a dangerous situation. If they're disagreeing with me, I can still be alive and I can still look after myself as an adult.
beautiful. I think that's, yeah, so beautiful. And I guess that's cultivating that inner resilience as well, that I know that you speak so beautifully about. Um, And I guess it goes back to like everything in life. Of course, the first time, the first time you sit in stillness, the first time maybe you do have that tricky conversation, it's always going to feel uncomfortable because you're out of your comfort zone and your body's like, no, 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 like straight away goes to all the doom and the gloom. But often, what we really, our powerful imagination thinks is not actually this scenario anyway. So I feel like there's real courage and power in that just sit with it for a bit, because it goes back to that non-reactive behavior. It's almost like setting it straight away, thinking all the worst, getting on the email or ringing them up or going to fix it, when actually it was nothing needed fixing to start with. We've made that problem in our mind. And if we just sit with it and really like reflect on ourselves and why maybe the conversation happened, we often then find we get the email or something and be like, oh, and it's never as bad as our mind makes it out to be. I've realized.
We all realize that, Shelley. We've always been there. All
I
of
just
us
want to
have
speak
been
for
there.
everybody. But
No,
thank you
I
so
am with
much,
you.
Monica.
I'm with you. I've learned it the hard way. So, Shelley,
Yeah.
I'm with you. Yeah. Um, the other thing that I'd like to mention here, since you brought that up,
Mhm.
people people find it hard to sit in the discomfort, whereas all those, I wouldn't like to call them negative, but all those emotions that you know we don't want to welcome,
Mm,
the ones that bring about discomfort, there's enough scientific research now that they only last for 90 seconds.
wow.
So it's just about sitting for those 90 seconds and observing it,
Mm,
naming it, and then at the same time, feeling the sensations in our body associated with that emotion, with that discomfort.
mm,
Because over a time period, when you're constantly observing them, you will see a pattern that every time I have these sensations, then this is the emotion that I'm feeling, and it has come up from this thought.
mm.
And then what action can I take for it? One small action that I can take, some mindful, action, and that could be as small as getting in touch with our senses.
Yeah,
you know
beautiful.
some sensory rituals that we can adopt and come back into that present moment, because all this conversation, I think, is all about coming back into the present
Yeah.
moment, because that's what makes us authentic, and that's what makes us aligned with ourselves.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm really loving this conversation. It's really impactful and powerful, and I know myself included. I'm definitely excited to rewatch this back. I know you offer a clarity call, but if there's anything else that you would like to mention to the viewers, obviously I'll put all your details in the show notes, so don't worry about saying all the email addresses and stuff. But if there's anything you would like to share, like feel free.
um, they can definitely get on a clarity call with me. They can go on my website to check my blog where I write constantly.
Beautiful.
On my website, there's also a Reignite Your Spark assessment that they
Oh,
can take. in order to find out why they're feeling stuck, lost, doubtful, or why they've lost their energy, their aliveness. I will be very shortly announcing a webinar that I'll be doing. So they can look out for that as well and join me. I would love all of them to join, and anyone who's listening to this podcast, I would really appreciate getting on a clarity call and just come over and find out. It's not
Beautiful.
about signing up, or it's not about anything, just finding out what's holding you back from getting into your own spark and how can you move forward. So message me, email to me, and I would love to support you with any resources you want from me. And I look forward to hearing from them.
Beautiful. Oh, I can just feel the love from you, Monica, and it's really refreshing. It's really lovely, and thank you so much for sharing all that. I want to be conscious of your time, so just one final thing before you go. If there's something, anything, someone listening right now would really benefit from hearing, what would you tell them?
I would like to tell every person here that you don't need to prove yourself. You are worthy of just being yourself. So you don't have to prove yourself through your performances, through your achievements, through your perfectionism, through your sacrifice. You are enough and you're worthy.
Absolutely.
And begin from loving yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's definitely one of the hardest things that I've learned, but one of the most empowering things as well. And it's an ongoing journey. And I think, but that's the beauty of life. Life is ongoing. Life doesn't just stop. It keeps going, and we keep learning, we keep evolving, and that's the beauty of it. So thank you so, so much, Monica. It's been an absolute blessing having you today. And I'm sure lots of people will be wanting to reach out to you.
That'd be lovely. And thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.